All right, so let me start off by saying um most of you comic book nerds out there, the majority of you I really just don't like. You're real arrogant. You think you're better than everybody because you read every book that's came out over the past 40 to 50 years. You're condescending, you're arrogant, you're cocky. You guys are just fucking annoying. You are. I don't like being around y'all. Nothing can be fun. Everything has to be serious with you guys. You don't respect other people's opinion. You get mad when content comes out and we like it. And it's like you guys got all this hate. But there's this guy right here. This is a comic book nerd that I actually like and I rock with. He just dropped something yesterday. His name is The Midnight Drop. Now, shout out to this brother. Obviously, you can tell he's going on this, not a rant, but giving his analysis on the culture war, specifically when it comes to the Odyssey. And I just thought it was really intriguing. And a lot of things just came up in my mind when he was giving his analysis. So I'm going to let it play. And then I'm going to kind of give my analysis on what I think. So first off, shout out to you. Uh, Shout out to the Midnight Drop, my brother. I respect you. I'm a fan. You know what I mean? You inspired me. I appreciate this. And then you went in for an hour though. You went in for a whole hour. Like you almost up there with FD Signify. FD Signify will talk a hole in a nigga head for 10 hours. You know what I mean? So I don't see how you guys do video essays. You guys will spend days doing this. Like I just don't have the attention span to be talking for 10, 15 hours, So just don't be like FD Signify. But anyway, I want everybody to take a look at this, specifically my black comic nerds, all my blurs out there. I want you to listen and pay attention, and then I'll address the white comic community as well.
Remained in the largest individual criticism category at approximately 34%. Everything else made a significant portion of it, but casting itself was a big thing, and I want to get into that right now. Two of these criticized areas when it came down to casting were on the choices of Lupita Nyong'o and Elliot Page. And the fact that the rumors were then going in about it were now then confirmed, especially when it came down to the confirmation that Christopher Nolan was using inspiration from a translator who did a translation of the Odyssey named Emily Wilson, who is prescribed to be a feminist. Conservative YouTube commentators routinely lean on these three people, these 3 points of criticism for.
Okay. He's absolutely right. Commentators will absolutely focus in on this, on the race swapping and all of that. So you already know where this is going. But this is to my black comic nerds out here. So let me explain it to you, right? White people don't like you, okay? They don't like you. They don't like me. They don't like us, okay? They don't want you in their comic books. They don't want you in their movies. They don't want you. They really don't even want you in sports. They really don't want you to be US citizens at all. They don't like you. And you can't make white people love you. They don't like you. All right? They don't care if you was in this movie for like 2 seconds. They don't like it. They despise you. They don't want you in their stories. And whether you like it or not, these are their stories and they don't like it. Now I'm going to address the white comic community because you guys are walking around mad like we did this. We don't control Hollywood. We don't control what these people do. We don't control anything here. We black people just minding their business. We don't run corporate America. We don't run the government. We don't run Hollywood. So I don't understand when you guys do something and then it turns to crap, you take your frustration and you get mad at us. Like something happens that you guys did, and then you take all this hate and you spew it onto us. That's something like what's that about? It's kind of like when Charlie Kirk got sent to the shadow realm and y'all was online like getting mad at us. Like, what y'all getting mad at us for? You're like, y'all the ones that sent them away. Y'all put them in the grave. What y'all mad at us for? We didn't do nothing. We just minding our business. Now we thought it was funny because he, you know, got killed by y'all, but oh well.
for thumbnail engagement and as starting points that branch off into other criticisms so that the audience would then latch on and say, oh, they got a point. This is interesting. The interesting part was that these topics often connected with one another. A criticism about Emily Wilson's translation would eventually become a criticism about feminism, a criticism about
Midnight Drop, and this is to you. Like, you can try to socially analyze this and give your critique. You can't change these people's minds. They don't they don't like you, and they don't want you around. I'm not saying that you care either, but I think once you realize that, then you'll just let it go. Like, you can't change a devil, right? And I'm not saying a devil is delegated to a specific race. Every race has their devils, trust me. But you can't change their mind. They don't like it. They don't like it, and they don't like you. Like when they introduced Sam Wilson as Captain America, like did y'all think like that white people were gonna go for that? Huh? Like did you guys think that they were gonna like it?
casting will become a larger discussion about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. A criticism about dialogue will become a discussion about Hollywood losing traditional values of how certain movies should be. The individual criticisms often expanded into much larger cultural arguments.
Version. So yes, this confirms that Nolan is just adapting the feminist revisionist version of the Odyssey, and that just tells me that it is dead on arrival.
Then came
Hmm. Now I don't know the name of that white bitch. I don't know who that bitch was. But she be online running her mouth too. Now this is what a Nazi looks like. Okay. To my black comic book heads, this is what a Nazi looks like. Okay. Now she be online talking greasy too. But I digress.
Nolan is just adapting the feminist revisionist version of the Odyssey, and that just tells me that it is dead on arrival.
Then came the name calling and the repeated casual racism that, as somebody like me, I have become way too comfortable of dealing with. I've even dealt with it myself. Lupita Nyong'o, there were terms that were often used to describe her character and her portrayal for Helen of Troy, and that was Felon of Troy, Helen of Detroit, Helen of Congo, the face that launched 1,000 Crips, and much more that were repeatedly used through multiple videos and also surfaced through Twitter because it's fucking Twitter.
Because they're Nazis. That's what they are. They're crypto Nazis. They're crypto internet Nazis. See, and that's the thing. See, these people are different. They're different, right? They're different than a Nick Fuentes or a Richard Spencer or or Bill O'Reilly or something like that, or a Steven Crowder. Um, this type of white supremacy is a little bit different because these people are afraid to talk about it directly. So they latch on to these social issues and they take these issues and use coded language and phrasing and dog whistles to try to convey their racism to the masses. You see what I'm saying? They're talking about one thing when really they're not. They're talking about the thing behind it. So these people are really tricky, but they're no different than Nick Fuentes, Steven Crowder, with Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, she's a raccoon, so they're no different. But again, you're not changing these people's minds.
Lee, the face that launched 1,000 ships, Helen of Detroit. Not the face that launched 1,000 ships, but the face that launched 1,000 Crips, Helen of Detroit.
This is Helen of Troy. This is Helen of Congo.
Peter Nwango, the face that launched 10,000 ships, Helen of Detroit.
Now you see this punk ass dude right here, and see these people are real disrespectful. I don't know what it is about every white supremacist that just think that they're the descendant of Marcus Aurelius and Homer and all these people that they're just not like. I don't think they really conceptualize who they are and where they come from and how they got here. I really don't think they understand it. And I really think it needs to be studied. Like, these people are the most disrespectful to black men, especially to black women. You're not winning these people over. To my people in the black comic community, these people do not want to unite with you. They don't want to unite with you. Let's go again.
On and say, oh, they got
Nolan is just adapting.
You know what I mean?
and
Crazy.
and much more that were repeatedly used through multiple videos and also surfaced through Twitter because it's fucking Twitter.
Supposedly, the face that launched 1,000 ships, Helen of Detroit. Not the face that launched 1,000 ships.
Helen of Detroit. Now this devil got a lot of nerve. I don't know your name, boy. You got a lot of nerve, dude. You got a lot of nerve, dude. You got a lot of nerve to be talking the shit you talking, boy.
But the face that launched 1,000 Crips, Helen of Detroit.
This is Helen of Troy. This is Helen of Congo.
Peter Nwango, the face that launched 10,000 ships, Helen of Detroit.
See, these devils got a lot of nerve. You see, like, do you understand what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Liquid of Troy.
A random African chick.
Yeah. See, and here we go with this guy right here. You see, y'all know who this guy is. This is what white supremacy looks like. This is what a Nazi looks like today, ladies and gentlemen. This is what a Nazi looks like. Okay?
Versus, the real Helen of Troy. I mean, that's obvious, right?
Some of the most popular images.
And this is another thing that I don't like, to be honest. When Hollywood race swaps, it gives the illusion that I want to sit at the table with you. I don't want to sit at the table with you. I want my own table. Okay? But unfortunately, there's no Black Hollywood. I mean, if there was a Black Hollywood, y'all would probably bomb it.
Used for her in thumbnails and memes were photos from her time portraying as a slave in 12 Years a Slave, and a shot from the Odyssey countdown trailer where she's seen screaming and being held back. And both of those images were aimed to show her in unflattering positions in comparison to pictures of Helen of Troy portrayed by Diane Kruger in 2004's Troy, which, to be honest with you, why the fuck are we trying to say that movie was better than this? The switch up is crazy.
And I was watching Troy, and Troy is a very flawed movie, but that's another element of, Troy from the 2000s is you were allowed to portray masculinity back then.
Conservative commentators.
And these are probably second, third generation white immigrants. I guarantee you these are second or third, maybe fourth generation. Black Americans have been here since the beginning. I just want y'all to think about that.
Commentators believe that she wasn't suitable for the role because Helen of Troy is characterized as a beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman whose skin radiated all across the ocean or the skies or whatever. Her skin radiated. Jezebel, yes, I'm using.
And I know I'm kind of all over the place. Let me tell you something about listen, my white comic book kids, I don't care about your stories. I don't know why Hollywood is doing this. You probably should debate them. Don't take your frustration out on me. Like, I don't give a shit about your stories. Like, I don't give a fuck about Hulk 181. I wipe my ass with Hulk 181.
Using her, even commented that while Lupita Nyong'o is a beautiful woman in one instance, she is 40 years old and is past her prime to play any roles requiring physical attractiveness. She also stated that Nyong'o never played roles that leaned on physical attractiveness and that most of her roles lean more towards serious performances.
No one for a second believes that Lupita would be Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships. Like, seriously, look at all of the Helen of Troys that came before her. One of them sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it?
Lupita Nyong'o's casting, it just totally takes me out of it. Lupita Nyong'o, first of all, she's in her 40s now, so she is a little bit past her prime. I still think she is very, very attractive, but she's never really built herself off of like being, a beauty symbol or anything.
And see, this bitch be talking out the side of her neck. Like, I gotta find, I don't know the name of this bitch. This bitch be talking, this bitch be talking out the side of her neck. White people feel like they are the standard of beauty around the world. I don't think you guys understand what you've done. I really don't. I don't think you people have really understood what you have done. You people colonized the world, okay? You colonized the world. So some of the beauty standards have technically been adopted, but I could say that was through colonization and brainwashing, okay? Black women wear weaves just because they've been brainwashed through fucking slavery to want to look like you. And it's the same thing all over the world. Okay? They don't do it. They don't do it because they like you. They don't do it because they want to be like you or sit at the same table as you.
Anything like that. It's always been based off of her being a serious actress.
This criticism became one of the clearest examples of how casting decisions transform into a broader conversation about race and beauty standards, because obvious reasons. Elliot Page criticisms were honed in on his sexual and gender identity. And for context, for anyone who doesn't know, Elliot Page was formerly referred to as Ellen Page. But in 2021, he announced that he was identifying as a trans man and changed his name to Elliot. Since then, he's been in the center of criticism from conservative commentators both in mainstream and on YouTube. Leading into the Odyssey, once cast for the role, those same commentators argued and proclaimed that he had no business being the role of Achilles or any Greek soldier for that matter if that rumor was shown to be debunked. He was routinely compared to Brad Pitt's portrayal of Achilles in 2004's Troy, was the subject of multiple AI videos and memes, and many times told that he wasn't suitable for the role because he is biologically a woman. Again, referring to Jezebel's video, I'll pull that up right now.
No matter if people say anything or not, because I guarantee there's a lot of people out there that don't want to say anything because they're afraid. No matter if people want to be bold enough to say anything or not, most people, or should I say all people, there's no one out there that actually believes that Elliot Page is truly the identity that she is trying to identify as.
Whoever you are, bitch, you are the ugliest white bitch I've ever seen in my life. Like, you look like the fucking dragon off of Eureka's castle, okay? You should keep your fucking mouth shut, okay? So you should keep your goddamn mouth shut. You haven't clearly seen how the fuck you look like. Okay? Your body look like a bag of potatoes. You look like a fucking gremlin. Okay? Just cut it out.
Most people are just going to see Elliot Page as their biological gender, so to speak.
This also ranged from Brian Kennel's increased anger when talking about Elliot Page in multiple videos, Nerdrotic's use of ET for mocking and comedic purposes, Chester Bell and Emily Butler's statements questioning his gender identity, and so much more.
And the worst casting choice outside of Black Snape, Page. And we have found out who is playing.
Very unhealthy
All right, I'm gonna skip past this Elliot Page stuff. I'm gonna be honest. I don't care. I don't care about the Elliot Page stuff.
If it succeeded, the conversation would shift towards explaining why the success did not.
And then people saw it and thought it was awful. I feel like that's what's going on here. I think Christopher Nolan has this vision, but like Francis Ford Coppola, his vision failed, and this vision is equally likely to fail.
This created one of the most important patterns in the entire timeline. The movie's success or failure became part of the argument itself. If the film failed, it would validate the belief that audiences rejected modern Hollywood. But if it succeeded, the conversation would shift towards explaining why the success did not represent genuine audience approval. Because as we all know, if I didn't win, then it don't fucking count.
I'm telling you right now, that motherfucker, not real.
This would lead into the next part of the timeline where another part of the entire algorithm game came into fruition. And this is the one that I feel like is the most recent, to be honest with you. The lead up to the release of the Odyssey saw only a couple of major stories revolve around the commentator circles. And those stories revolved around social media influencers not being invited to early release screeners. And they just took that as either of rejection of influencers or, oh, this movie's really gonna suck because they need that. There was also conversation on.
Yeah, there were people obviously trashing the movie before it came out and saying it's not gonna do well, it's not gonna sell. Yeah, that's definitely been a thing. And I think it did. How much did it do? What was the box office? Okay. Let's see. 1.1 billion. Okay. So it did 1.1 billion. So it did very well. It did very well. And to the shout out to the Midnight Drop, you know what I mean? I love you, brother. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan. They don't care how much it's sold. Just because the movie did well or a movie did well with race swap characters, it doesn't mean that they necessarily want you in it, right? There's some white people that just flat out don't like you, and then there's some white people that just kind of tolerate you, like white liberals. They tolerate you, so that doesn't necessarily mean that they like you or that they wanted you in the film. It's just that they went to go see the film and you were just a small inconvenience. That's all that means. So just because a movie sold a lot or did very well in the theaters, I wouldn't a devil is a devil. All right. These people don't like you. They don't want you in the film. They don't care that the film did well or didn't do well. They don't care. They don't want you in it. You know what I mean? Now don't get me wrong. That's not our fault. That's Hollywood. You know what I mean? I don't care. I like a black man getting a bag. So I don't care if a black person is in a predominantly, white film or has been race swapped. I don't care. When I see a black man getting a check, trust me, I'm happy, you know what I mean? And I don't necessarily care what a Nazi thinks. I'm kind of torn in between the two. I'm kind of torn between Martin and Malcolm. I am a black nationalist, but I don't hate people for wanting to take the Martin Luther King approach. But in terms of film, I don't really see, you can't change these people's mind. That's all I'm saying. You can't change their mind. I think we obviously need our own Hollywood, and it might not do as well as white Hollywood, obviously, because there's more white people here than black people, but it would be a start. You know what I mean? I would prefer that, but because at the end of the day, you know, I think Hollywood is just kind of freestyling and spitballing when they throw in black characters around this way. You know, but it is what it is, and unfortunately, we don't have the resources to construct a Hollywood of our own. We've been dealing with subjugation for the past 400 years. So, it's pretty unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Early reviews by critics and how can we take the validity of them, and also this push for make the Odyssey Greek again, because those commentators always believed in Greek mythology movies being represented by Greek people. They always believe in that shit. The conversation rarely moved away from the same core arguments that had been established months earlier, from its casting, representation, source material, and the belief that Hollywood was prioritizing ideology over storytelling. This led into the eventual release of the film, where almost every creator that you can think of in this analysis gave an extensive review of the film. And if I had to just summarize all the reviews, it's basically them affirming what they believe about the film before they even had saw it. The casting took them out of the film. The narrative was boring and not fantastical enough. Modern framing of the film was unnecessary. Acting performances were weak.
Facts.
Some practical effects should have been CGI. Sound design was disappointing. Editing was poor. And ultimately, that almost every creative decision made by Nolan failed to deliver what they expected, even though the Rotten Tomato scores and so many different critic reviews were so different, and it was just an obvious sign that they just hated the movies to begin with.
Yeah, they don't care about the Rotten Tomato scores. They don't care about the revenue that it generated. They don't care how many people came to see it. They don't care about the attendance. They don't care about any of the reviews. They don't care if people said that this is one of the greatest films, in the past 10 years. They don't really care about any of that. They don't like race swap characters. And once they see a black person in a film that should technically be a white role, they don't care. They don't care about any of these numbers. And I want not shout out to the Midnight Drop. And this isn't, I'm not dissing you, my brother. Don't, I don't want no smoke with you, but you can't rationalize or try to explain away your humanity to a Nazi or a racist. You can't. You just can't. You can't do it. And I don't think these people understand the amount of whitewashing that happened over the past 40 years of film. I'm not even going to get into that. They don't care about that either. Okay? White supremacy doesn't make any sense. All they care about is white, 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 white. They don't care. Trust me. So they definitely don't give a fuck. I would be interested in talking to one of these people, but I guess you got to be a pretty big YouTuber to try to get into debates or discussions. Yeah, this girl right here, she be talking out the side of her neck too. That Star Wars girl. I would like to. Hey, listen, I'll talk to anybody. You know what I mean? I'll definitely have a discussion or a debate with anybody. When you stand on the truth, it doesn't. Oh, well, she got one with Charlie Kirk over here. Yeah, for trying to figure out. Huh. Okay. Yeah. So we know what she's about. Yeah, but I would love to debate or even have a discussion. But it's not going to change their mind. So I wouldn't do an essay or do any content to try to reason with these people. You can't reason with these people. You can't negotiate with these people. I mean, these people are like the Taliban. You can't. All right, these it's the Nazi Taliban when it comes to their stories and and their movies and things like that. I definitely believe black people need their own thing, but unfortunately, we don't have our own thing. But you know that's a whole nother thing. But this guy's cooking. What I mean? Shout out to the Midnight Drop. I don't know how you did this. I don't even know how you edit your shit. Like I'm too lazy to figure it out. I gotta pay somebody else to try to edit my stuff. I don't know how you do it, brother, but what I mean? We should link up, what I mean, one of these days, man. You know what I mean? You too big for me. I know you too big for me, but maybe one day when I get my views up.
Some commentators went as far as claiming that the film was one of Christopher Nolan's weak.
See, and then these people, and I apologize, I keep stopping, and these white supremacists sometimes they'll use, the raccoon community. They'll hide behind the raccoon community. The Candace Owens, the Eric Julys, and things like that. They will hide behind these people to reinforce their white supremacist viewpoint or to spew out their dog whistles. You know what I mean. So these people are real tricky, right? They'll put you don't think they will. They'll make you go through gymnastics. You'll go through intellectual gymnastics with these people when you try to communicate with them and rationalize with them, because they do not have the courage to come forward and just say what is on their mind. You know what I'm saying? So to my black comic book community, you cannot reason with these people. I'm interested in just making content, so I definitely would like to have a more thorough discussion with one of these Nazis. You know what I mean? So, and we need to stop. We need to just call them for what they are. I don't care. They're Nazis. Okay, that's what they are. Okay, there's only one type of good Nazi, and that's a Nazi that get sent to the shadow realm, and that's what we need to start doing around here. You know what I mean? But pause on that.
Weakest movies in his career, and argued that the critical response did not reflect the actual quality of the film. This created a noticeable contrast between their reviews and the broader critical conversation surrounding the film. While criticism certainly existed, many professional reviewers praised the film's ambition, scale, performances, technical achievements, and Nolan's own interpretation of Homer's epic. The difference was not simply whether someone liked or disliked the Odyssey, but what aspects of the film became the primary discussion focus. Was it that one person like Jeremy Johns and Dan Morrell actually talked about the essence of the story, the theme of it, and really paid no attention to the controversy or just talked about it for a little bit? Or was it the fact that Nerd Roddick and Jester Bell and so many other people really honed in on the casting choices and said, oh, it took me out the film and everything else was just boring and drab and yada, 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 yada. Why is this not a fantastical movie like it was in the 1970s or whatever? Like,
yeah, I agree. I totally agree with him, and I'm not gonna play. Shout out to the Midnight Drop, man. I love you, brother. I'm not gonna play this whole thing. You was going in on him for an hour. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna do that. But this is fire. You know what I mean? You did your thing on this. You know what I mean? So I just think that these people would probably be better if they just said, I don't like black people in my movies. I don't want black people in my comics. That's great, if you guys want to buy the comics and you want to go see the movies, but this is our thing. I would prefer you stay on the sideline. But like, we're on the sideline. It's just like Hollywood is doing this. Like, we're not doing this. Like, I don't control, like, black people don't control what Disney does or what Paramount does or what the comic book industry does. Like, we do not control what they do. So you get frustrated at what your people do, and then you project that hatred onto us. It's just kind of annoying, but it is what it is, because it gives this illusion that I desire this inclusiveness with you. Because a white person will look at these things and think that We are just so desperate to want to sit at the table with you. We don't want to sit at the table with you. We want our own table. You took our table from us, you destroyed it, and then you took us and made us build your table. And then you get mad when you're with some of your people put us at your table. Like, we don't control any of this. You guys are the ones that are doing this. So I just thought that this was really interesting, you know what I mean? Because I don't know. I feel like the comics could be so much more fun and movies could be so much more fun. You would think that this would be the one thing that us as Americans, I guess if you want to say that we're Americans, you would think that this would be the one thing that everybody, every American of every race could hold hands and look at these films. You think we would all be able to hold hands and look at Endgame and say, "Hey, man, this is America. This is beautiful. This is what America did. This is what we did." You think we would be able to do that? You think we would do that with all of these great films because there's nothing like American film. You know what I mean? Nothing like it. But even within this community, it's just so much division, and I left that Martin Luther King crap like years and years ago. I've made my peace with it. You know what I mean? So I'm a black nationalist, and I know a lot of guys aren't gonna agree with that, but I mean, you can't sit at a table with people that don't want you there. You can't, there's nothing you can do about it, but, create your own table, and I know that's easier said than done. But I do believe bullies need to get dealt with, but, um, I just feel like the comic industry and everything, the comic community is trash. I think it's just trash. The comic book industry and the comic industry is failing because comics just aren't the thing anymore. But of course, these Nazis try to attribute it to politics and things like that. I mean, if I go to your kid right now and I tell your kid, I'll take him to the comic book shop and he can get any one comic book he wants, or the new GTA 6 early release today, right now, which one do you think he's going to choose? So the comic book industry just isn't popping like that anymore. And honestly, I almost want to say movies and stuff aren't popping like that anymore either. Like, it makes me, the division in this community makes me not necessarily want to participate. It makes me want my own thing, and I definitely feel like we need our own thing. Like, I don't have all the answers, but like attempting to try to sit at the table with them isn't working either. And I'm not, and shout out to Midnight Drop. I'm not saying that that's what you're implying. You're just giving your analysis, and I love your analysis. Just don't be making no 5-6 hour essays, my brother. I love you, brother. Don't do it. Don't do FD Signify. You know what I mean? And I definitely disagree. About I have some disagreements with FD Signify, but I'm not gonna uh you know explain that here. Just some political disagreements. I don't hate the brother. I don't really know him. But uh this was really interesting. I'm actually interested on what you guys think about this culture war thing and movies and race swapping and things like that. Um and I really would like, to hear white people's opinion on it. I would like to hear black people's opinion on it. I do think, for those that would like to participate, I'm not trying to force anybody to, for those that would like to participate, we need to, we can have a discussion on it and you can say whatever's on your mind. You know what I mean? So put it in the comment section, let me know what your thoughts, what are your thoughts on the Midnight Drop, and definitely go subscribe to his channel, subscribe to mine, and I'll see y'all on the next one.
But the thing is, though, and the point I'm trying